First podcast.
Wow.
And we're rolling.
Yes, so now we're live. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we've tried this a few times, so I guess we're going to finally knock this out of the park, I hope.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it. So we are of course the Wilson brothers, and for those of you who've maybe seen us or heard us on some of our other platforms, if you're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, you probably see us as, either Working on Fit Wilson Brothers or just Wilson Brothers, something along those lines. But this is kind of just us talking about fitness and talking about our journey, hopefully opening up a gym in the near future.
That's right.
So.
But this is going to be our podcast series, and pretty much this is going to turn into a rant.
Oh yeah, 100%.
For the most part. This is just going to be
100%.
us in a different format. Maybe we saw something we didn't necessarily like at the gym, and we need to explain why it was wrong, or we've got something on the mind that we need to get off our chest. And this is basically just our rant series. So with that in mind, we need to get into what we wanted to talk about today, and that is goals. Being that it's the new year, just around the corner, everybody's going to make goals, and then this is how you can approach these goals to be successful, make sure that these goals are sustainable, and all that nonsense. So without further ado, let's jump into it.
So probably one of the biggest issues that people run into as far as getting into the new year and trying to make a difference in your life and things along those lines is everybody falls into, I guess let's kind of talk a little bit to start about the difference between goals versus resolutions, because everybody wants to make resolutions, but a lot of times that almost sets you up for failure, because everyone, even you just hear about resolutions and everyone's like, well, that's not going to last very long.
Sure.
That's never really how that works. So, and this is something we've been taught from a young age, obviously, with our martial arts background and whatnot. Even just saying goals versus resolutions, you hear goal and you sound like you're more determined for it. You sound like you're in it a little bit more than just a resolution. So that's why, just to kind of start it off, that's why we're referring to everything as goals instead of a resolution.
It puts you in a better mindset, and that sets you up better for success, because just everybody's got a friend, or even maybe they're a little they've done this before in the past, where they say this, they've got a resolution or whatever it be, and then it falls flat. So when you say resolution, you kind of have this person in the back of your head going, okay, this is something I'd like to do, but if it doesn't pan out, whatever. Yeah. It's a New Year's resolution. They don't pan out anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, you're not fully dedicated to it if you've got the mindset of, oh, it's just a resolution. Right. Because resolutions fail all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So you've already set yourself up for failure. So that's a big reason why we're going to call them goals. And then the main principle you want to use when formulating the goal is what's known as a SMART goal, and that can be broken down into, obviously it's an acronym if you guys didn't catch that. If you haven't heard it before, most people have. This is a great way of formulating a goal that gives you that one step closer to actually accomplishing and succeeding these goals. So the first thing in there, obviously, is it needs to be specific. These goals can't be wishy-washy. You can't come in going, since we're in the fitness industry, we'll keep in the same thread. You can't come in going, I want to get fit in this next year. Well, what does fit mean to you? Do you want to put on 10 pounds of lean muscle mass? Do you want to take off 10 pounds of fat tissue? Do you want to increase cardio? Or do you want to increase strength to the level that you can play with your kids in the backyard for more than 15 minutes at a time?
Yeah, like there's so much variability there. Everybody, because fit means different to every person. Maybe you want to be an athlete because you were back in your heyday, you were on the football team or whatnot, and you kind of want to reminisce and get back to that and start doing some strength training. Or maybe you just want to have the ability to play with your kids and you want to try and be more active in your later years or whatnot, and all of that comes back to what you're specifically looking for. So that's really where you've got to start.
Yep, big thing. Got to be specific. After that, you got to make sure that it's measurable. And a lot of people, so let's say we've got that same goal. I want to put on, just for an explanation, I want to put on 5 pounds of lean muscle mass and I want to lose 10 pounds of fat. Great goal. it's specific, but it's not measured out in a time frame yet.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, these goals are usually for the year, so it needs to be within the year or less. And you need to set that in stone, write it out. Like, well, is it going to be a 6-month goal? Is it going to be an 8-month goal? Is this a year-long goal? Like, we need to know. By what time, by what specific date will this goal be accomplished? And then by setting that larger goal on that specific date, you can then take the overarching goal and break it up into a micro goal that you can accomplish month by month, week by week, whatever it be. Yep.
And by breaking it up into those smaller goals, that gets into the next thing, which is adherence, or how much you can actually stick to this.
Yeah.
Because if you've got this really big goal, maybe you want to lose 10 pounds of fat and you want to put on 5 pounds of muscle. Awesome. But that's a larger goal. You're going to have to break that up into
attainable goals.
Exactly. And make it, for this month, this is what I want to do. Or even breaking it down to week by week, and then you can break that down to day by day. And you have to be able to get those little goals along the way, which just gives you that little boost of motivation, like, hey, I actually did this week. Now I'm ready for the next week.
Right.
And it keeps you going, and it springs you into the next one.
Yes, these goals have to be attainable. If you, wake up one day and you're like, oh, take that same goal, okay? I want to lose 10 pounds of muscle tissue, or not muscle tissue, pardon me, but fat tissue.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's great. And then the same guy goes, and I want to put on an extra 100 pounds of muscle tissue. That's not attainable within the year. As a life goal, maybe
that would still
100 pounds would still be,
yeah,
wildly extreme. But people have done it.
Yeah.
So okay, if that's a life goal. But these goals are mainly within the year. So that needs to be attainable, something that keeps you on track. And it can be, just because it's year long, it can be a smaller goal to a 5-year goal or a 10-year goal.
Yeah.
But it still needs to be within the attainable frame.
Because ultimately, if you're trying to get into fitness and all of that, you don't want it to be something where, after 6 months I fizzle out, or even I made it to the year, but then I start falling back, and now you're back in the same spot you were.
Yep.
If you really want to get into it, it has to become an attainable lifestyle that you can continue up, and not just fall off after you've done it for a short period of time.
Yep. So that was the A in the SMART goal. Moving on to our R, and it needs to be relevant.
Yeah.
It needs to be relevant. Your goal can't be wildly out of the blue. It can't be in left field. If you're a middle-aged man or woman, you've never pole vaulted in your life, and your goal is to be a world-class pole vaulter, that's not very relevant to you.
You kind of missed your chance there.
Now, if that's your goal, I wish you the best. Maybe you start training now, and who's to say you can't be? You very well could be. But it's also not very relevant. If you have an interest and you have a passion in life, and you have goals towards those, you're more likely to succeed in those goals. And if you are passionate for something that is completely, that you've never done before, you're passionate about it, yeah, jump into that. Who cares? But it can't be something that's just not relevant to you.
Yeah. Like, you're not gonna, if you're a 5'4" male and you want to be, you want to compete in strongmen and you want to be the strongest man in the world.
Sure.
It's not necessarily feasible for you.
You can be the strongest.
You do well?
Yes. You can be the strongest man in the world for under 200 kilos, maybe.
But there's only so much that your body can actually do, and you have to be able to sometimes suck up your own pride and acknowledge that you do have some limitations. Now, don't put too many limitations on yourself, but there are limits to what you're going to be able to do, and that plays into it because it's got to be relevant for you.
Right.
So
got to be in your wheelhouse a little bit.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with stepping out of your comfort zone for the sake of a new hobby or whatever it be. But goals should be something that's already in your life that you want to achieve more prowess in. You want to get that promotion, so you're gonna dive into your work a little bit more. You want to, we're in the gym environment, so we'll keep it there. You want to put on that 5 pounds of lean muscle tissue. So something that you can actually do that goes back to the attainability, and then something that's relevant to you as well.
Yeah.
And then that moves on to our last one, our SMART goal, and that is time-based. Okay? So that one goes back to kind of the measurable. Usually some people will do these in the same. Your measurability will be what you're going to accomplish in that year. Time-based is more that. So you need to put a certain time frame on it, whether it be, going back to what we said, the 6 months, the 8 months, or maybe it is a year-long goal. And then you need to write these down is a big issue.
That's big for a lot of things, because if you just talk about it with somebody or something like that, there's nothing concrete to hold on to. But when you actually write it out and take the time to think about it and actually put it down on paper, that makes it more concrete. Now you've got something to hold on to. And if you take that a step further and, put it somewhere where you're going to see it or something along those lines, now you're keeping yourself on track, and it gives you a little bit more. You have to, there's a word I'm looking for. You have to be, we'll go self-reliant, and it keeps you on task.
Yeah. If it's somewhere that you're going to see every day, whether it be in your fridge, in your closet, on the wall, maybe even in your sock drawer, whatever it be, something you'll see every day and it keeps harping on your mind and it keeps bringing it to the forefront of your mind, then you're more inclined to stay on course and stay on track to eventually achieve those goals. So, to recap, it needs to be specific, it can't be wishy-washy. We need to be measurable in what we're exactly going to achieve, whether it's going to be 5 or 10 pounds of lean muscle mass, whatever it's going to be. It needs to be attainable, it needs to be relevant, and it needs to be time-based. If you guys hit all that, you write it down somewhere, and it's in plain sight, it's honestly, it might be difficult to fail at that point.
It should be. And that's really what you want to do, is you want to set yourself up for success.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the big problem that a lot of people get into when you're starting to try and come up with these goals or resolutions, whatever you may call them, is you're not setting yourself up for success. Because everybody, and we talked about this earlier, but I'll throw it on here, is that you kind of fall into, if you're not knowledgeable, you fall into one of two camps. Either you undershoot your goal, where you make it something that is not going to help you in the long run. It's, maybe it's a good place to start, but ultimately it's not going to be drastic enough of a change that's actually going to help you with what you're trying to do. Or you overshoot it and you make things far too difficult for yourself. And in both of those cases, either where it's undershot, then you're not going to see the results you want and you're going to fizzle out, or you're trying to shoot for this goal that's not attainable for you, then you're also going to fizzle out because it's just too hard.
Right.
So, and that's why so many people, I think, when they go for these resolutions, when they try and do these goals, that they don't last. They fizzle out after the first couple of months. And that's why, speaking of the gym and keeping it with that, that's why, you're going to see those numbers jump, and you're going to be fighting for space to get on the bench for these first couple of months. But then those people who are regular, who are consistent, who this is actually what they want to do, and they've made these goals specific and all of that, those are the people that you're going to see sticking around, not just month after month, but year after year.
Right. And that's the big end goal.
Yeah.
The big end goal, at least when it comes to gyms. Now, if your goal's not relevant to that, then if you do the SMART goals and you keep everything on that path, it's still
for sure.
But for the gym specifically, the big end goal, no matter what your smaller goals may be, is to incorporate this into your life and to make this a lifestyle change, and to the point where it's no longer a change, it's just who you are.
Yeah.
That is the big goal, and that is how you can see the most benefits with, whatever it be, for prolonging life, taking health benefits with you further in life, therefore decreasing the risk of mortality, whatever it be. The big goal, especially for exercise and fitness, is to be healthy and to make sure that that healthy behavior is sustainable for a lifetime. So,
and kind of getting into, because I think more often than not, people get super excited at the start of the year, and they're like, oh, this is going to be my year, this is going to be the year for change. And not that that isn't great, but you're putting so much pressure on yourself. And all of that, again, sets you up for failure. And that's not going to lead to a successful goal. That's not going to lead to prolonged success.
Yep.
And yeah, it's just so many people fail.
Yeah, and it's hard to see. One, it's frustrating being in the gym when you see all these New Year resolutioners show up for the first month or two, and they're just hogging space or they don't know what they're doing. It is a little frustrating.
And I'll give them credit because, they're starting somewhere. Like, you got to start somewhere. I give them all the credit in the world for that, but you're right. It can be a little frustrating, can be a little irritating because, even if you see somebody starting to have a little bit of success and then they just fizzle out, you're like, oh, that was such a waste.
Yeah.
Or you see somebody doing something potentially wrong or, again, it just goes back to something could have been there and, there's just a waste of the potential. Or
yeah, I see what you're saying in the sense that even if, for these New Year resolutions, even if you're going in there and you're not doing it exactly 100% right, that's better than doing nothing.
Yeah.
And eventually, the more you're around a certain environment or whatever it be, the better you become adapted to that environment.
Mm-hmm.
So if it is, the more you're in the gym, the better equipped you become.
Yeah.
As long as you've got proper guidance and you're not surrounded by complete idiots.
Yeah.
Yes.
The biggest step's always going to be that first one. When you go from the couch to anything, that's going to be the biggest step you can possibly make.
Yes. And then from there, it's just fine tuning and figuring out what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that could take years.
Yeah.
But that's an entirely different rant. So
True.
I think we've gone on long enough now.
Probably.
We should probably wrap this thing up.
Probably about it.
All right, so let's recap. If you guys don't know, we're Wilson Brothers. We have plans of starting our own gym in the next few years.
Mm-hmm.
On addition to having this brand new podcast, we are also on YouTube. We are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You guys should go check us out, give us a like, subscribe, and TikTok as well.
Yes.
Let's not forget that one for all the kids out there.
That's right.
That's right. A topic for today was goals, specifically the principle of the SMART goal being specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got into a little rant with some New Year's resolutioners in the gym and how that's better than staying on the couch, but we need to make sure that we're staying consistent.
Yeah.
And we're always looking to improve, hammering out those little discrepancies as we go, making this a sustainable life change that can last throughout a lifetime.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Yes, wasn't it?
Beautiful.
The end goal. It's in sight. We can all do it if we help each other out. Kumbaya around the campfire. Look, I'm going to start crying. It's beautiful. I know. It's a beautiful, beautiful world if everybody puts in some effort.
Right. Miss America over here.
Oh, yes. I just want world peace.
That's right.
All right, guys. We're going to let you go. I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas, and I hope your new year is amazing and your goals are on spot and set you up well for success. So without any further ado, goodbye. Take care.
Have a great new year, everybody.
Bink.
Well, that was something.
That could have been garbage. I don't know.
I have no clue.
And we're rolling. Yes, so now we're live. All right. Yeah.
Well, I guess there's that. Save. What's this segment called?
This segment?
Yes.
Honestly, our podcasts are just rants.
So, New Year's rant?
New Year's rant. That'll work for me. Will that work for you?
New Year's rant.